Welcome. It's day two of the 2026 Parenting Goal Setting Masterclass, and I am excited to have you here. How was the one? I hope you've watched it. I hope you've taken out the things that are in that class for you. You've noted them, and you're willing to start putting them into work. And so today, we're looking at turning parenting goals into daily actions. This is where the conversation starts becoming interesting because I'm not just sharing with you the things that you should consider in your goal setting. We're going to set a goal together today so that becomes a sort of a blueprint, a guide for you that you can replicate in any other goal that you want to set for your child at any particular point in his or her life. Anywhere you are in the world, the principle will apply. And even if your child is older than 6 years, right, the principle will also apply. So before we begin, we're going to look at three core objectives to today's conversation. And you want to pay particular attention to objective number three because it can upturn objective number one and number two. In fact, it can upturn whatever goal you're setting. So you want to pay particular attention to learning objective number three, because mastering it will actually make every other thing we've discussed and we are going to discuss about goal setting for your child easy, all right, and achievable. Tip number one is how to translate goals into daily routines, which eventually become habits for your child. Tip number two is to create 1 to 2 implementation plan, or what you can call implementation commitment. The third objective is how to leverage the environment to make the goals you set become realistic for your child. Now, I like us to know this. Children succeed when the environment is set up for their success. So, no matter how magnificent the goals you set are, right? And the environment is not engineered to support the success of that goal, your child will fail at it and you blame your child. Whereas the blame should actually be on the environment that is not supportive. So, let's look at setting just one goal in this class. And like I said, you can extend this one goal into how we're going to set the strategies and the systems in place to get this goal achieved. You can replicate it in any and every other goal you want to set for your child. Anywhere you find yourself in the world, it's going to apply, right? So let's look at this one goal. We want to raise healthy children who feed on healthy meals and snack for maximal growth and development. See that it is clear, and I use the word we. Like I said yesterday, parenting goals is not something that one person sets so that it doesn't become a mommy or daddy thing. It should be a family thing. And how this happens is that you bring your spouse on board, right? You bring your spouse and other people in your environment who are taking care of your children with you. So if there is a house help, you have to bring your house help on board when you're having this conversation so that even in your absence, the house help knows what to feed the children and what not to bring home, even if she disagrees with it. Break this nutritional goal into 3 stages. The first stage is in the first 1 year. So in the first 1 year, the earliest goal or the earliest strategy to actualizing this goal of raising healthy children who eat healthy meal is exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. It means that whether you are there or you're not, there is express milk that your baby can feed on, especially in your absence, and it's just breast milk. And you're to feed on demand or at regular intervals. Let's say every 2 hours, every 3 hours, or just on demand. And at the end of 6 months, you move to semi-solid foods. And these are semi-solid food that you intentionally put together, not what is convenient, not bread because it is soft, you can put little and the baby will swallow it, not biscuits because it is available and you can go to the nearest shop or even have the carton in your home, not juice because it is sweet, not what is convenient, what you know is healthy for your child, right? I won't be going into details about that. There is nutrition in early years parent course that we run, so you can catch replay of last year's section. I think it's still at 5,000 naira for the 3 days section, right? And one of the sections was actually handled by a dietitian. So I won't go into what food is healthy. I won't be able to answer that. I won't be able to go in details about that. in this conversation. So you offer your child semi-solid foods, you offer at regular times, and keep the foods at that. I am honestly of the opinion that we often overfeed our children without knowing it. And so if you feed your child from the age of 6 months semi-solid foods, let's say every 3 or 4 hours, and the child takes those meals at those points in time, that child really do not need snacks. Yes, I am saying that place of experience. And no, don't think I don't understand about malnutrition. I am a registered nurse, right? Yes, you heard me right. So I understand the basics of malnutrition, the basics of energy, protein, malnutrition, and all of that, and all of that. I have 3 children, right, who we've raised with these things that I talk about, and none of them is close to anything being malnourished now. None of them. So then tell me, you don't know children can easily get malnourished. No, no, no. I know about children getting malnourished, but that's why I said you give semi-solid foods. That is food that was carefully made and selected, and not just any bread and butter and whatever you mix together. But that's not what I'm talking about. And during feeding times, you don't rush the meals. You relax. You're not, there is this rush, especially if you're giving something like pap. There is this rush. You put the spoon, it enters the child's mouth, take it back, get another one. You're not even looking at the child to know if the child has swallowed the one in the mouth. And by the time we stack the food in the mouth and the throat, and the baby is having a difficulty getting the food down to the stomach, the baby, vomits everything, and then you say, my baby does not take pap. My baby does not like taking food. It's only biscuit and bread and tea. No, that's not true. You've just not mastered how to feed your baby in such a manner that your baby will accept the food you're feeding him or her. That's it about the first 1 year. So from 2 to 3 years, you offer consistently family meals. By the time a child is 2 years and 3 years, right? If you've done a good job, the child should be able to feed on the family meals. If there's going to be any addition, it could be once or twice in a day, but not that the child doesn't take family meals at all. Again, remember what I said, consistently offer family meals on a regular basis. Get the child to attempt feeding self. That would be you gearing the child towards independence. Remember what we talked about yesterday, that before your child gets to the age of 3, where your child will get into school, or whatever age that your child gets to enter school based on where you're living. The point is, before your child leaves home for school, get your child in that space where the child can feed him or herself. And you should start training your child for this from the age of 2. So you want your child to eat healthy meals, that child should also be home with feeding self. And this can start from the age of 2. Allow the child to make food choices. So where there are options that the child can choose from, offer your child options. That's actually how you know the food that your child likes most. So recently, my daughter, who is 3 years old, would choose beans over any other food. You see beans, you see food eating with beans, that would be her first choice. Then when there is no beans, that's where you can now say, do you want to eat ofora or you want to eat ofegusi? And she will now make her choice. So get the child in that space where they choose, but make sure that the options you're giving in the first place are healthy meals. Remember, you have a goal, which is to get your child to eat healthy meals. So the options you're presenting are also going to be meals that are healthy. Explain why certain foods will be eaten or will not be eaten in your house. In my house, we have a list of foods that are not eaten. So each time we go shopping and the children see an ice cream stand, my daughter will not fail to say, Mommy, ice cream is not here. And I say, yes, yes, yes. And she'll say, we'll make our own ice cream at home. I will say, yes, yes, yes. The ice cream we make at home is banana that is blended and then frozen, and that's our own ice cream. But of course, it's not even something we eat often. The last time I promised them that I'll make ice cream was last year during long vacation. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that. We had to replace it with something else. So that ice cream is like something we'll make once in a year or thereabout. So let your children start knowing why certain foods would be eaten or would not be eaten. Initially, to not make them not to ask you for it. But if you are consistent in letting them know what was discussed the last time and why it has to be, over time they will be the one championing it. And when they see somebody eating the meals that they've come to understand that is not healthy, they will come and tell you about that person. I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I know how many persons my children have come to say, I saw this person eating this thing. And sometimes I'll say, yes, maybe their mommy didn't teach them. And so sometimes my son will say, go and tell their mommy to tell them. And I'm like, it's okay. We'll talk about it later. But you're framing their mind to understand that there are certain foods that are eaten in our house and there are certain foods that are not eaten in our house. Then from the ages of 3 to 6, introduce various meals, local food. If it means going to, places, traveling to places, when you go to the village during holidays, let them eat the local foods available. Don't pack the one you feel they are conversant with. Let them go and try that one that is in the village. Introduce them to different kinds of food, different local foods. Let them see how it is made. During holidays, right? Most of the foods we eat during holiday are local foods. It's intentional. Every holiday we go local. And the children are as conversant with the local meals from my place as much as someone who is growing up in the village. It is intentional. So from the age of 3 or 4 to 6, this is when you bring in these other supposedly strange meals. Get the children involved actively in making meals at this age. Let them see the process that goes into plucking vegetables, washing them with salt. Let them watch you cut. You can get them their own cutting apparatus like a chopping board, like a sizable knife. Let them watch you do these things. And at your leisure time, teach them how to use the knife first on the chopping board before you progress to giving them vegetables to slide. Maybe one stalk or something. Allow them to cut it and you watch. Get the children involved in cooking chores, right? Like, we want to make a goosey soup, so what do we need? Or sometimes when you're making list for a soup you're cooking, get the children around you. So we're going to cook a goosey soup. We want to go to market. What do you think we should buy? Everybody will say what they feel you should buy. And then you can list the ones that they missed out. That's actually how they learn. Offer meals and snacks at predictable times. So in my house, we usually eat breakfast around 11 a.m. except for my youngest who is 15 months. But for the other ones, the 3-year-old, the 5-year-old, we eat breakfast around 11 a.m. and it's become something that we actually enjoy. So we wake up in the morning and everybody is busy with things to do. Sometimes they don't even remember that they've not eaten breakfast until around 12, 1, especially when they are really engaged with plays. But the thing is, offer meals at predictable times. So most times we eat breakfast by 11 a.m. And you know what? They know to expect it. There is a time for dinner, and we started them out as routines, and over time they've become habits for us, so much so that if they even eat food earlier than 11, it tells in their behavior. Incorporate age appropriate meal related chores like getting water ready before mealtime, like getting the trays ready, rinsing the plates that will be used in dishing out foods, clearing the table after eating, sweeping the dining area after eating, and all of that, feeding a younger sibling if there is need for that, and all of that. Get the children involved. There is so much more that your children can help you with in the first 6 years. I speak from experience. Upgrade the chores as the children master the ones they are doing currently. Lastly, start a garden. Yes, you may not have space where you live, but at least you have a bucket that you can spread some pepper seeds, the same pepper that you buy from market. Spread the seeds on top of a bucket that you've poured sand into. That could be your garden. Let the children see what it looks like to actually start a garden. Let them see what it looks like to actually start planting what you eat. Let them see what it looks like. Your child may not end up being a farmer, but let them appreciate what healthy meals looks like and how healthy meals are made. If you put the things I've mentioned into place, you understand the place of environment, and this is how it plays out. In your home, the foods that you don't eat are not found in the environment, and so your child would know not to ask you for that particular meal over time. And for those of us who are just starting out in our parenting, we have our first children, we have our first child, you're very fortunate. It means that your child may not even have a memory of those things. My last child doesn't know what tea is, doesn't know what bread is, it doesn't know what biscuit is. But it's not so with the other ones. So sometimes my first son will be like, Mommy, you used to put juice and biscuits in my lunchbox when it was healthy. Now it's no longer healthy. And I'll be like, yes, it's no longer healthy. That's why we're no longer taking it. And he'll be like, so will it be healthy tomorrow? I said, let's watch out. Maybe you can produce the one that is healthy and then we can eat it. But for now, we can make tiger nut juice and you can take it to school if you want. And that is it. But for the youngest one, he doesn't understand what the conversation is about. And that's the beauty of starting early. I made my own mistakes. Some of the things that, there were some of the goals that I didn't set early, and we did whatever that was readily available and all of that. And that's why I'm saying there is a chaos that comes when you don't set goals around a particular thing. So this class is a charge to get you actually ask yourself, what is it that, what do we believe in? What do we want in our children, in their nutrition, in their emotion, in teaching financial literacy? You can start teaching financial literacy now. Yes. Get your child to understand the word waste. Get your child to understand that in this house, we don't waste anything, be it food, water, pencil, eraser. We don't waste, because the money would have used to buy tiger nuts to make tiger nut juice. We will now use it and replace the water that you wasted. That's the way we put it, that actually gets them to understand what waste is. Find a way to explain it, they will understand. Get your child to understand the concept of savings. Let them have something that, somebody gives them money, they put it there. Sometimes for us, every weekend, the children and I sit and I give them money, some money, about 500 each, in lower denomination, so they know to keep this one for offering tomorrow being Sunday. They know to keep the other one in their saving box. They know to keep the other one. If they want to buy something, they can discuss it with mommy or daddy and decide if it is worth buying and all of that. So they're understanding that if you get money, it's not all the money you get that you give out as offering, or it's not all the money you get that you use and buy what you want, or it's not all the money you get that you put into savings. They may not understand what financial literacy is as a word, as a concept, but they know the things that leads to that. And over time, these things will become a habit, so that they don't even need anybody to tell them, and they do that. So in the first 6 years, don't think they are too small. They are the foundational period. And the imprints you lay by the conversations you have, by the kind of environment that you engineer in your home, will actually determine if what the years to come would look like for them. And going back to the goal we're talking, the nutritional goal we talked about, right? Now, by the time you've successfully set the things that I've mentioned in place, the things we've discussed, by the time you set them in place, right, you would have successfully taught your child that there are things to eat and things not to eat. There are places to eat and places not to. My children knows that you don't eat on the road for any reason. You don't eat on the road. So, and they know that there is a way to eat and there is a way not to eat. And you may think these things are really not necessary. Do you know the statistics of people, of teenagers who battle eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia nervosa, and all of it, obesity, and all of the illnesses that are related to it? These are people's children in those statistics. It doesn't have to be, your own child doesn't have to get there. And you don't start teaching your child about healthy nutrition when the child has entered teenage age. No, you start now. So you see why I said that the first 6 years, yeah, it was this I mentioned that the first 6 years is like a trap or a setup. You're just trying to understand what's going on. This marriage, will it work? Will it not work? This career, this workplace, will I continue? Will I not continue? This program I'm running, is it worth it? My lecturer is disturbing me, all of that. And your child is suddenly 6 years. Before you know it, your child is suddenly a teenager, and you've done nothing solid. And that's why the Reality Conclave program is actually a community for parents who have young children. Don't fall for these distractions around us. The distractions have been there and they will remain. But our children will not remain children. All right. So if you're listening to me up until this point, I encourage you to get into the next cohort of the Reality Conclave program and actually start putting things in their right place in your child's life. Before you know what's happening, 6 years is gone and you're wondering, where did all of the years go by? Your child is praying to get into adolescence. You don't even know what is going on. You're still busy. You're still saying you make out time, and the child becomes a teenager full time, and you're wondering, what have I been doing? You don't want to be that parent that gets there. If this is what awakening is, what this class will achieve for you and your family in 2026, then I would have done my job. And hey, let me know what stood out for you in this section. I hope it did not hit you in the places that you did not like. You don't feel that I came for you personally. I don't know anybody here. My husband is in this group, but on this point, I don't even know him. All right. So I'm just saying, I just taught us how we can set goals, how our environment can influence the goals we set, and how we can replicate it in other areas that we want to set goals in. If you still have any question or you feel you need me to help you in any of the areas you're confused with regards to goal setting, leave your question in the comment section. And the beautiful thing also about the Reality Conclave is that the first month we dedicate it to setting routines. Routines become habits, and habits get goals accomplished. So this is where we end it for today. See you tomorrow for day 3.